Morning, everybody. So Easter weekend is behind us. What a fantastic weekend. Other than a little crash on the dirt bike on Saturday, but which I'm still sort of trying to recover from. But something you learn in off-road riding, we've got a thing called an MLOT, which is a momentary lapse of talent. And the reality is when you crash, none of us want to crash, but we make up all kinds of excuses why we crashed, this, that, whatever, My excuse on Saturday was I was going so well down this rocky downhill and the rocks just disappeared. But the reality is that I wasn't paying attention, I'm sure, and crashed. But the point of the story is blaming. I've been watching a lot of the South African political scene and the American political scene. And I see something really in common on both sides, on all sides of all equations, is that when everything's go wrong, the first thing we do is we try to find someone or something that we can blame, to absolve ourselves of, any kind of responsibility for the situation that we find ourselves in. And I find that particularly true in South Africa on both sides of the aisle, all sides of the equation. This side blaming that side blaming that side. We don't have this because of that. You have that because of that. We don't have that. You winning because of this. And no one ever seems to take the time to just look at ourselves. Look at ourselves and see what role we're playing in our own, negative growth, in our own negative or destructive patterns, or in our poverty, or in our whatever it is. I've noticed something about successful people. Something that I got taught in gym, and something that I got taught by a friend of mine who was a boxing pro. He said, what defines a champion? What is a champion? What is the difference between a WBC or IBF or whatever world champion and the guy that's just at the gym like me, just hitting the bag, doing a couple of exercises? What is the difference between the guys that make it to the top and the guys that don't? Is it skill? Sometimes. Is it passion? Sometimes. But the reality is this. Is it natural talent? Sometimes. But the reality is this. A champion is someone who gets up from the canvas even when he can't. He gets up and he continues in the fight, and he learns from the mistakes that he made. He doesn't blame other people for his failures. He doesn't blame other people for the situation he finds himself in. He looks in the mirror, he sees what he did wrong, and he corrects it, and he fixes it, and he builds on that. And that's what we need to start learning.